Hello, so this is my second video that I'm making about religious thoughts. And the good news is, oh, please don't comment on my nose. I know it's horrible, but it's not, this video is not about my nose or my eye or my mouth, so please don't comment about them. Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about religion and spirituality and stuff like that. And there's this really interesting story that I heard from my father. And um, when I was about, let's see, I used to live in California, so I think I was about, I must have been about still in either preschool or, yeah, maybe 7 or 8, maybe younger, maybe 6 or 7. I had lived in Alaska for a while because for some reason my brother was born there. And so I had a lot of time. I actually went to Indian school, like Native American school. And I was bullied a lot because my mother is Japanese and my father is American. Well, he's white. So I was bullied a lot. Like I was really bullied. They didn't like me at all. But um something weird happened. I'm not saying that I have a sixth sense, or I'm not saying that I have some supernatural powers, but I have been able to see things and kind of feel things. I don't have the power to foresee or anything, but I'm just saying that I do have these weird little things about me. And one thing, like the thing was the first thing that happened the first thing that my mother noticed that was a little bit strange about me was when, I hope I don't freak anybody out, when I was still living in Japan because I was born and raised in Japan. So we lived in a very, very old house. And I just remember this story because I passed it a couple weeks ago on my bicycle on the way to the local mall with my mother, and she said, "Do you remember that house over there that we used to live in?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You do?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. It's a house that has 3 rooms and blah blah blah." She's like, and she looked at me very strangely, and she said, "Exactly." She said, and I knew I knew every detail of the house. Anyway, I was living in the house when I was really small, and what I used to do was, well, the house had been set on fire for like about 2 times because it was a very old house, and I think they re it did I think it was burnt down during the war, but they didn't completely tear it down. Um, I think they rebuilt it a couple times. I don't know, there might have been deaths or something, but what I would say to her, to my mother, was, I remember this. Well, I don't remember saying it to her, but I remember um talking to people in my house, that like a lot of people were in my house, and nobody really came to our house because my father was American, my mother was Japanese, and we didn't really have any relatives except my grandma and grandfather, which are dead. So um I I would say, "Mom, look." I don't know if I said he or she. I would say it. I think I would say it. It's because Japanese is different, you know. And I would say, "It's sticking its head out again," or "She is looking at us again. Why is she looking at us like that?" or something like that. I know it sounds really creepy, right? But for me, it didn't sound creepy at all. And my mother would kind of get freaked out, and that's what she told me. She didn't tell me. Well, maybe she told me then. I don't know. Like, there's nobody there, but I would see people at my house, like just people walking around and stuff. I know it sounds like the sixth sense and stuff, but I don't know. I just had that weird thing. I mean, I would like to call it a gift, but I don't know what it is. Creepy, right? I don't really see spirits, or I don't even know what I was seeing. Anyway, um, after that, we moved to California, and we lived in a part called Santa Rosa. Sorry, my eye hurts so bad. Santa Rosa, and there again, like I was very interested in the mystics of old religion and like uh spirituality since I was very very small and little, and my grandmother was a Catholic, and don't know why exactly, but I kind of refused to go to church. I wasn't a church person. I never really liked to be a part of the community, but I was never really friendless. You know, I had lots of friends, and I was a pretty friendly girl. You know, I still think I'm a pretty friendly person. Um, but I just never really liked the idea of church. I would like to go to churches like alone. I would like that. I remember I would like to like just sit at church alone. But anyway, um, I love to read. I still love to read. I have tons and tons of books. I read. I'm not fluent, but I can speak Spanish and Japanese and English, and I'm working on French. But ever since I was little, I spoke both Japanese and English. Oh yeah, and Spanish. So, ow. So, yeah. And we would go to these old bookstores, and my father got me this book. I don't know where it went. I really want it back. About Egyptian mythology. I'm not trying to sound satanic or anything. I'm just saying that I loved it, and I loved Greek mythology too. So my dad kind of got tired of just telling me bedtime stories, so he just got me a book, and I was a pretty good reader. So I was reading these stories about Ra and Isis and like their son. Oh God, I forgot the name of the god with the beetle head, and like Ptah, and like all these. There's all these Egyptian gods, ancient Egyptian gods, and Egypt mythology. And I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but there were these people who would come to our house and try to convert us. Well, they were very nice. I don't really. My dad didn't. My father and mother didn't really like them at all because it would come like every week because my dad and mom are really polite people. You know, my mother's Japanese, and they would come, and they were called they were a part of a religion called Jehovah's Witness, which I'm not very familiar with, and they would try to, and we were agnostic, I think. Yeah, my mother was pretty. She was Buddhist. Not entirely Buddhist, but pretty Buddhist at that time. So she wasn't very comfortable with it. My father, you know, he didn't really have a problem with it, but then they started to come like all the time, you know. So then my dad didn't want to deal with them anymore. So one day I answered the door, and they said, they said, little girl, do you believe in God? And I said, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think I had my little Egyptian mythology book with me. I remember it was this big book. I think it was about this big. Well, when I was holding it, it was about this big, so it must have been a little bit smaller. So, um, yeah, but it was very big for me. I was holding it under my arm, and I was saying, and it had no cover. It was a very old book, and I went and then I looked him in the face and said, "Oh yes, of course, I believe in God. I believe in Ra. I believe in Isis. I believe in Oasis. I believe in Ptah, and I believe that Ra he resurrects all the time." Sorry. Yeah. So, and then I said that to them, and then they just their jaws just dropped open, like, and they fled. They thought that our house was satanic or something like that. Yeah. So basically, that's what happened. And I just thought that that was kind of funny. And yeah, I want to go on and on with this story, but yeah, so that's what I did because at that time I believed that all those gods were real, and I don't know if I believed it or if it was just I was so into it. I was so into it, and then I learned how to read code. And my dad got me a book about codes and stuff. And yeah, I started making my own codes, and I was a very, very weird kid. Um, and no, I'm not satanic. I'm not atheist for hundreds of times. I'm saying I'm not atheist. I'm very spiritual, however. I do believe in a higher power. I also believe that I used to be a mermaid. But that's another long story that I'll probably make another video about. Oh, the reason is that my grandfather was Irish, and I have these little mermaid holes. In the legend of Ireland mythology, that we have these little holes right here. People ask me if they're, I don't know if I can see them, if they're piercing holes, and no, they're not piercing holes. They're just holes that my father took me to the doctor to see what they were, and they were holes that like, I don't know, like some people have, and they're just like, I'm a mutant. I'll say it. I'm a mutant. Supposedly that we evolved from, if we evolved from fish, then these would be our gills, that like leftover gills, and I have two holes on both sides of them. So I don't know, I was a very, very strange kid. And just sorry about my appearance. I know I look terrible right now, but that's another story. But I just thought that was really funny. So, oops, yeah. So that's it. So peace, and I hope I didn't offend anybody. So, this is my second video.